This next speaker really embodies all of that. And it's Julie Interrante, and she's an adjunct professor in the Department of Psychology at Sacramento City College, a speaker, a minister, and a writer. She's the author of The Power of a Broken Heart. Having had more than 25 years' experience working with people in all phases of life, Julie offers concrete suggestions and tools for living a life that minimizes and perhaps even eliminates wishing things had been different. Julie is committed to the evolution of the self through the power and wisdom of one's own soul. Her Sax Soul Talk today is titled, No More Regrets. Please welcome my friend Julie Interrante.
Yes. Gosh. Hi. So good afternoon. I'm really surprised I didn't say good morning. Usually when I stand in a room like this, it's good morning. And I was sitting back there listening to JG and thinking, you know, the title of my talk is No More Regrets, and I have no idea whether we're going to talk about regrets or not today. Because the truth is, actually, when I think about no more regrets, I'm a little sorry that's what I called it or what I talk about, because I don't know that any of us is ever going to get off the planet without some regrets. I think that it's more important, anyway, for me. I'm coming to believe that it's more important for me to learn how to live with them and to allow them to soften me. And to get it that I do my best, and sometimes it doesn't look like what I wanted it to, and that can cause regret for me, but there's a huge opportunity in it. So lots of you know that I've, for a lot of years, have worked in end-of-life care. And so I've worked with people who are dying and their families, and I can tell you that probably 95% of the people that I worked with, if not more, had a lot of regret. They were surprised they were dying. They didn't want to be. And when we really kind of got down to things, it really was about, their regrets were about not having lived their lives perhaps the way they really wanted to. No one ever said, I wish I'd worked more, or I wish I'd made more money, you know, or even not too many people even said, I wish I'd gone more places. But I think when we get to the bottom of what's going on for most people is, I didn't have myself in the way that I wanted to. And how do I die now and begin to embrace that place in me? See, I believe it doesn't matter when we recognize the self. It matters that we do. The other thing that I learned in a really big way from people who are dying is that we die how we live. We don't all of a sudden come to the end of our lives and gracefully let go. If we have not learned how to gracefully let go during my life. See, I don't all of a sudden magically change because I find out that I have a shortened lifespan, right? It literally, however I've lived my life is how I will do my dying. And I believe that a lot of how we do our dying has to do with the choices, the way that I've shown up in my own life. I think that in our culture, we have made an unspoken agreement that we cannot tolerate our own discomfort. And that because we have done that kind of unconsciously, we've created a whole bunch of ways to stay away from what is uncomfortable for us. And what I want to say today is I believe that comfort is overrated. Because my sense in my own life, as well as sitting alongside others, is that discomfort, my fear of my own discomfort, is actually what is getting in the way of me living the way I want to, and is actually what creates regret as I move along. Because so many of us, without really thinking about it, are looking for ways to stay comfortable, right? Especially in the West, because we are already so comfortable. So it's like, don't ever make me not feel good, right? Here's part of what I think happens in spiritual communities. If I'm comfortable and happy, that means that I'm doing the right thing. If I'm happy and comfortable, then I must be thinking the right thing. I must be being spiritual enough. And I think that we've got this a little turned around, right? I think it's actually the opposite. When I am living fully in my own heart and soul, when I'm listening to what's going on in here, I'm going to get really disturbed. Because my heart and soul, the divine itself, I don't believe is very interested in my comfort. I think the divine is interested in authentic living, is interested in authentic self. And in order for me to experience authentic self, I have to come face to face with my false self. And we have all kinds of language for that. But the truth is, I have to find a way to mature, to grow up, to take risks, and to stop telling myself that when I am uncomfortable, I did it wrong. Don Bisson tells us all the time, while on one hand God is the great comforter, I believe that God really deeply is the great disturber. That's the truth of our own hearts and souls. And if I put all of my attention in my life on being comfortable, I cannot know me. Because the authentic self rocks the boat. See, if I begin to allow the divine to disturb me and begin to listen to it, listen to the deep call of my own soul, I think the biggest fear that we have is if I listen to that, pretty soon I'm going to be called to become the great disturber. And so many of us, I think, are more frightened of being the disturber than we are just about anything else. Because if I listen to what my authentic self is calling me into, I'm going to have to live from a place that says who I am and my experience of myself is more important than anything else. Even more important than what you think of me. More important than what you say about me. This is a really big deal. I don't know about you guys, but I just want y'all to like me. Right? You know, I mean, how much energy do I put into looking the right way, acting the right way, all of that? Because I want you to like me. And living without regret means I have to let go of what you think of me. It also means that I have to let go of what I think of you. That's the bugger, right? Right? It's like, whoa. Now, when I begin to get it, that I can live authentically myself, that I can actually listen to and follow what's going on in here, it begins to heal up that place in me that looks out and says, oh my gosh, you're not doing it the way I think you should be doing it. What I think is interesting about this concept is as I begin to heal these places up and just try it, you know, it's like there's no magic way to be in touch with the authentic self. I think it's literally a daily 1 minute at a time process. I believe that it is the biggest spiritual practice we will ever do. And that biggest spiritual practice is actually becoming fully human. That where I experience the divine is right here. Whoops, somebody told me not to do that and I just did it. Sorry, John. So it's like, it's like that's where I experience authentic self. It's not out here somewhere. It's literally right here in my physical human body. I think it's really important for us to remember that right here in the human heart is the perfect balance of human and spirit. That we aren't here by accident. We didn't get here because of the great fall from goodness. We're here because the divine works like this. We think of that infinity symbol, right? Okay. God needs me as bad as I need God. The divine can't show up on the planet without me, and I can't show up on the planet without it, him, her, however you want to think of it, right? So that's why it's so important to look at, am I living authentically? Am I going to come to the end of my life and look back and have big enough regrets that it's going to be hard for me to get off the planet? That matters. I know years ago, one of the thoughts I had was, I do not want to come to the end of my life and think, oh my God, I missed it. And how dangerously close I have come to being that person that says, oh my God, I missed it. I had a fabulous experience in the last couple of weeks. I decided to foster 3 little Border Collie Aussie puppies who are 8 weeks old. And if you want to see pictures, just ask me later because I have a million. Okay, well, I wasn't really sure. I mean, our Aussie Border Collie died in October, and she was a very special dog. I love the working breeds. And I've kind of been online looking around, seeing if I wanted a dog. Well, I started seeing pups. And I called the Milo Foundation in Point Richmond, and I asked them about some of the pups, and they kept saying they've already been taken. Pups don't stay around very long. But they said, if you're willing to foster a couple, we'll give you 2, and then you can choose which one you want of the pair that we give you. I said, sign me up, right? They call me the next day and say, well, actually, we have 3. So would you take 3? I said, sure. And then I hung up and thought, oh my Lord, I haven't even told Ross, right? My poor loving husband. God bless that man. So I tell him when he comes home, and he just kind of shook his head a little bit. He said, okay, honey, just bring him on. I said, okay, well, we have to go tomorrow, Mother's Day, and go choose the 3 that we want, because there's 6 in total, right? Well, on the way down there, I started thinking, this is insanity. Like, what am I thinking? We have 2 other dogs. It's not like we're without pups, right? But on the way down, I had this thought in my head. Puppies? I've had this thing for puppies since I was this big. It's like something comes alive in me in a way that at no other time in my life do I experience it. And the thought ran through my head, I am going to be dead soon. Why would I not do what makes me happy at every turn that I have a chance? And I have to tell you, something in me woke up with that one little thought. And right behind it came, you know what? I could actually act as if being on the planet is a vacation from wherever I came from. Like what? Like, why couldn't I? Why couldn't I look at my life today as my great vacation? I get to be in a human body. I have a moment in time to live in this body exactly the way it's put together, and this body gets completely turned on by puppies, right? This is amazing to me. And it came directly through being a human being on the planet. I was not thinking about what's my next right spiritual step, right? I am someone who has tried her whole life to bypass being human by getting spiritual enough. And I'm here to tell you it doesn't work. It was painful. I think it's partly why I worked with people at end of life for so long, because I literally used to describe myself as having one foot on the planet and one foot in the ethers. And that's no joke. I think half the time I was hoping I could go with the people that I was sending on their way. And then some things happened in my life that brought me into the body, gave me an opportunity to be here. But here's the other thing that's come out of these puppies for me around regrets. Is now I have 3 puppies in my kitchen, right? I get to choose one. Yeah, right. Exactly. In fact, I have to choose one. And Ross and I talked about keeping 2, and then it's like, have we lost our minds? You know? But I realized, here's what I realized from looking at these puppies, and I have to tell you, I think we are decided now, but it has been back and forth for about 4 days, and poor Milo Foundation is like, I really feel like I've kind of just been calling them and telling them we've changed our mind every other day, right? But what happened is someone very wise in my life, I was saying, I don't know how, I was in tears. I don't know how I'm going to choose one. You know, there was one for sure we know we didn't want, but there's these 2 little females. And I see all these traits about each one of them, and I was in tears about how am I going to do this? I didn't know this was going to be this hard. I've never done this before, right? And she looked at me and she said, Julie, remember that in every choice, there is a gain and there is a loss. In every choice, there is something that you gain and something that you lose. And that broke it open for me. It was like, this is sometimes why I don't make a choice. Because I get pulled off center by fear of the grief I'm going to have to feel. You know, I've said for years, I think that 99% of the issues in our culture are actually grief related. And this week I had a straight on experience of it. It's like, I have a book called The Power of a Broken Open Heart, right? You'd think I'd get this? The truth is, what I've been afraid of in making a choice this week is how it's going to break my heart open to have to say goodbye to 2 of them. And at the same time, the thrill of welcoming one in. And that's life. You know, it's like, it's all true. I kind of think I had it in my head that maybe I had to make one bad and one good, one right and one wrong. Not true. This is how life is. There's paradox in all of it. There's gain and there's loss in every choice. I think that, in many, many ways, is the crux of living with no more regret, is embracing that that's the truth, and that in every choice, in every decision that I make, I will have something that I will be thrilled and happy about, and I will have something that I will be in grief about. So I know we are out of time. Thank you, RJ, for letting me know. So I just want to say I'm so thrilled that we get to be here talking about this today, and that JG and RJ are making this all happen for us. And so I just kind of want to open it up for a second and see what y'all are thinking. Talk to me for a minute. Or tell me that you think I'm full of it. That's okay too.
Who has a question
Anybody
or a
had
comment?
a question or a comment? Go ahead.
Hopefully this mic is working.
It seems to be. I really liked what you were talking about. I can't remember where it was, but I remember reading somewhere that learning to live with ambiguity, if you can even say the word, is a sign of spiritual maturity. Yeah. Being able to live in that space where you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Growing, how I think of it is like, as I grow capacity, you know, as I grow capacity to let it all be, to let all of it be true. You know, Sogyal Rinpoche, whenever he talked about, whenever he did a big talk of any sort, he would always start his talks with asking everybody to fall silent and to breathe space. That there is enough space in the universe for everything, and that's what I hear you talking about. It's like, how do I grow capacity to let it all be true and not have to judge it as right or wrong, or that I'm right or wrong or good or bad. That's where the trouble comes. That's what JG was talking about. You know, there's really nothing here to fix. I'm not right or wrong, I just am. It's all true. And when I stop judging the painful stuff is bad and the joyful stuff is good, all of a sudden my life becomes rich and full in a way that I just had no idea was available to me. So I really get that. Anybody else have anything they want to say? Come on, I bet it's in there.
Anyone want to give her a compliment?
Anybody want to rock the boat a little bit?
Okay, we have Sandy and then Tom.
That was so powerful that in every choice, you've got the extremes. And I can see how so many of the times in my life when I have struggled terribly, I just haven't accepted that.
Yeah.
That was really powerful enough for me to write it down. I don't write stuff down.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. That's the way it was for me. It was like, for whatever reason, you know, whatever space I was in, it was like, oh my gosh, and how the fear of both of those, you know, it's like, I want to be excited, but I don't want to feel the grief of letting go of these two puppies. And the truth is, I have to. That is how life is. It's like, you know, 12-step recovery talks about accepting life on life's terms. This is a moment where I get to accept life on life's terms. This is how it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when we learn to trust spirit and turn all our choices over there, is there a downside or any pain or suffering in trusting spirit to make the choices for us?
Here's how I think of that. I don't think there is such a thing as turning my choice over to spirit. I think that the divine is relational. I believe that God is relationship, and so it cannot be done without me. I think it's one of the misnomers of spirituality and how I hear it talked about at times. That if I just get out of the way, and I get that I have to stay, it's not about me getting out of the way, it's about me staying open. It's about having capacity for all of it. I'm not turning it all over. I may well ask for guidance, I may ask for clarity. I can't tell you how hard I've been praying for clarity this week. And then I think I have it, and then darn, it switches. Right? So it's like, can I stay in the process and keep opening up to create more capacity to be in my discomfort? And I get what you're saying. There is something about surrender. There's absolutely something about surrender, but it can't happen without me present. And that, to me, is the difference. Because for so long, I was always trying to, I'd even say things like, well, I don't really know, but you know, God will show me, I'll just know. Well, I'm coming to find out that what I desire really, truly is the desire of the divine. Those puppies are God, hook, line, and sinker. You know, I mean, that's that lovely story about, you know, there were little angels that were in heaven, and God says to the angels, you need to go down to earth and tell me what's going on. I just want to know what's happening down there. And the angels come down and they're looking around and they're seeing people hurting and struggling and all kinds of things going on. So they go back up and they say to God, you have got to do something. Because they're really having a hard time. They're really struggling. They have forgotten you love them, and they're really hurting. So he says, give me a couple days, I'll think about it, I'll get back to you. So a couple days later, he comes back to the angels and he says, I've got it. I've got the solution. I have created a four-legged that I am going to send to the planet, and I'm going to give them my name backwards. That's the puppies. Thanks for letting me be here.